Hi, Kenneth, and welcome back. It's nice to speak to you again. And I wondered today if, since we haven't spoken for a while, you could reintroduce yourself and tell me who you are and who you're working for. And also, tell us a little bit about what we're going to speak to each other about today, which is the order to cash process.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me back, Laura.
That's my pleasure.
As you said, my name is Kenneth Flaglien, and I work in Visma Software in Norway. So what I do on a day-to-day basis is I'm responsible for a team of consultants, which basically delivers competency out to our customers, clients, and our partners that use our software. So that is my job on a day-to-day basis. So we build a lot of courses, we run a lot of training sessions, and we try to build processes that businesses can implement easy,
right. Okay.
and have a more effective use of their systems.
That sounds very sensible. So that's yes. Kenneth in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, today, like we spoke last time about purchase to pay. And I said last time, actually, it's amazing how much there is to these processes. So many touch points, so many places where there can be bottlenecks, things that go wrong, and so much potential for improvement. So today we're going to talk about one of the hot topics, which is order to cash. And I wonder if you can tell me from your perspective why you think this is so important.
Yes, of course. The order to cash process, first to start there, what is order to cash? And order to cash is basically everything that happens from your business receives an order until you have received your money. Right. So when you receive a purchase order that you need to deliver on until you have money in your account. So this process, order to cash, is everything from creating the order in your ERP system. It is delivering the wares or hours or whatever you're going to deliver on your end, and then it's the invoicing. It's the collecting of the invoice when you receive your money. If you don't receive it on time, how do you do collection? How do you do interest rates? Everything from start until it's fully paid. Okay. So that is what we define as the order to cash process.
Right. Okay. And does this order to cash process, I can see how it can make sense to effectivize things internally, but does it also have an impact on the relationship you have with your customers and how you can serve them?
Yeah, most definitely. As a business, when you have an effective order to cash process, your customer will be much more, of course, reliable on the payments dates, on everything around that, but they will also be much more happy because they can, on their end, have a lot more control on their expenses, on their own stock. When does things arrive? When can they expect delivery of goods? Everything around their purchase to pay process. So if you automate your order to cash process, your partners or customers can automate their purchase to pay process.
Right. Yes, of course. So I can see that can really help in terms of planning, in terms of like if there's a good collaboration between the seller and the buyer, how stock replenishment and all that kind of thing, how that could work a lot better, which obviously at the end of the day makes happier customers because, as long as people can keep control in what's going on, then it's going to altogether be a better process for the customer and their customers ultimately who are waiting for the stock at the other end. Yes. So okay. So what other areas does the order to cash process affect? So I'm thinking along the lines of if you take the sub or offshoots of the different processes that you mentioned just now, like bank reconciliations, that kind of thing. Can you just tell me how it fits in the context of other processes in the business?
Of course. What happens first at the first end of the order to cash process is where you receive an order. So you might get the order through a web shop, you might get the order through some other system, or you might have a salesperson that registers the order directly into your own system, or you can receive electronic purchase orders that directly fits into your own system and creates the order there. Second part is when you finish your order, right? So then it goes through, if you have a stock and you need to do that, you can, the people that work with the stock replenishment and delivers goods, they can, they then take care of that part of the order. If it's, you sell hours, if you sell services, you move the order into the right department that can take care of delivery.
Right.
Third part of the process is when you finish the delivery, and after the delivery is done, you're over to the invoicing part.
Right.
And this is where you get most benefit out of making a more effective process for your own company. Because of course you receive it electronically, you have it in your system, you can do all the reporting along the way, you can see where you're at, you can see income, you can do a lot of reports around that. And then when we go to the invoicing part, if you send the invoice electronically, like we've talked a bit about electronic invoices before, and if you send the invoice electronically, we know that about 90% of your customers will pay it on time.
Right. Yes.
So if you don't send it electronically, then 60% of them will pay it on time.
Yeah.
So if you send it on paper or PDF, a lot of people mistake PDFs for electronic invoices.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think people think, oh, it's PDF, it's going electronically, then it's an electronic invoice.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, right?
Yeah, that's not the case at all. So that's where we see. So you get 30% more of your money on time,
right?
Which can have massive impacts on your own liquidity.
Absolutely.
And then again, you get happier customers because everybody wants to pay their invoice on time. But if they receive it on PDFs, there's a lot of different issues that can happen. It can end up in spam filters. It can not be received. The person's on vacation. There's a lot of different issues that can make the invoice not reach payment on time.
Yeah.
And then you do collecting, and nobody's happy when the collectors call. Nobody's happy when they haven't paid their invoices on time. And so you get more happy customers if you let your customer pay your invoice on time.
Just make it easy for them, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going to say another, like, you just reminded me of a conversation that I was having yesterday, actually, with somebody who said, you know, one of the big problems these days as well, when you don't have such an effective system, is that people are way too busy to actually send out their invoices, which of course, like, you know, you've got the delays potentially when the invoice is actually sent. But, you know, that's compacted by the fact that people are not just invoicing on time. You know, they're waiting for a week or 2 weeks before they send out the invoice. And it has a massive impact on the working capital, especially, you know, if you're in a high growth company, you need to be pulling in that money as quickly as possible to fund the growth. Otherwise, you can get into a major cash squeeze. So I totally buy into what you're saying, that to effectivize that whole cash collection is a critical part of certainly a small, medium-sized businesses, a critical part of the process.
Yes, it most definitely is. And in most systems nowadays, you can also, thank God, automate the invoicing process.
Right.
So as long as you have, you're not supposed to be using your own time to press print.
No.
Your system.
Yeah.
You're supposed to, as soon as it's delivered, the system is supposed to take care of the invoice. As soon as your stock or the wares you're gonna invoice is delivered, so the invoice is ready to send, it needs to happen automatically. The invoice needs to go out of the system every day. You're not supposed to anymore. You're not supposed to build up a bunch of invoices and send them out at once a week or once a month or whatever people have done in the past.
Yeah.
We also have this. A lot of people that use invoice bundles. They bundle invoices into like 10 orders into one invoice. What is important to know now is that the governments don't support more than one order number per invoice number.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that means that our systems can support it, but the invoice handling that goes between the businesses, which is government run, won't support it.
Very interesting. Okay. I suppose on top of that, one obviously needs to comply with the government. So, that's a kind of rules out the idea of bundling invoices. But I suppose if it was allowed anyway, there's the potential that, one of your invoices is going to be held up, or 10 of your invoices are going to be held up by maybe one that wasn't correct. So it's probably not a great idea anyway to bundle them up.
Yes, that is very true. There's many reasons for it, as well as if you think of it from the purchase to pay process. You see that if you receive a bundled invoice, you have a lot of work to do to match everything.
Right.
Because you can't automate the matching process if you receive 10 invoices in one.
But
when you get the invoices sent one by one, everything can be automated on both sides, which means you will get your payments on time.
That's really interesting, because I think a lot of people probably think they're doing their customers a favor by bundling things up, but in the the olden days that might have been so, but these days actually it's better just document for document then. So that's a good point. So do you actually help customers set all of this up, or do you work with, for example, the accountants who then go and help customers set this up? Or how do you help your Visma customers to actually make sure they've got it as smoothly running as possible?
Well, what we do is we work a lot with the accounting offices, and that's because we can reach so many of our end customers at the same time. So teaching an accountant to do this will actually help 100 businesses, instead of me running around meeting one by one.
All of them, yeah. And I suppose your distributors as well, I suppose they're key in this, understanding the product to the extent that they can optimize it. So I guess you spend a lot of time with them.
Yes, we do a lot of teaching around this, how we work. So we have courses, of course, training sessions, stuff like that. We have webinars. We do stuff like that to get it out there. But the easiest way we can reach many customers at the same time is actually reaching out through our accounting offices.
Right. Yeah.
So we work a lot with them, and then what we do is we go in and meet their customers together with our accountants.
Right.
And then we help them from both sides of the world. How can you automate your processes? And then we look at from the accountant's perspective, because everything gets easier for the accountant as well. When they sit on the other hand and everything is automated, they don't have to double check everything.
Right.
They don't have to do they only need to do error handling when things stops up for some reason, stuff like that. They don't need to do all the punching on a day-to-day basis, all the checks, everything around that. They should have a basic dashboard or an email or something that tells them, these are your errors for today. This is what you need to handle. Everything else has, of course, been handled automatically by the system. Yeah,
that's so true.
And that is the new accountancy world. They're not supposed to punch. They're supposed to handle small issues and then add value to the businesses they work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it is a new way of doing things, because obviously accountants are so used to having to do all of this stuff manually that I'm guessing that it's received with mixed feelings. Partly it's like, a celebration that life is easier and that they can use their time to do something that's like a lot more interesting and, more valuable for clients. But then I guess on the other hand, that we spoke before about as well, that, they're losing the income stream in a way. But, I think if you look at it from the outside, or not from the outside, because I also work a lot with these accounting practices, but looking at it from, as a big picture, from the 30-foot view, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing that we as humans can use our time for doing something a bit more creative than matching up bits of paper. So I think it's really exciting. And I think it's great we have the technology to allow us to do this. And also in our world, where we're working mainly on the other end of transaction handling, in terms of like we're working in the reporting and the budgeting and the dashboard, so actually using the data that's created, all of the transactions that are lying in the system. When we come across customers that are using order to cash in an effective way, or purchase to pay, so everything's being booked through systems and everything's automated and live or near live, then we can create fantastic reports off the back end. You know, reports that show sales pipeline, the reports that show stock replenishment suggestions, reports that show short, medium, and long-term cash flow. So for us to get that information into the system is a dream, really. So we highly encourage, you know, those customers, accountants, and end users out there that are using, you know, Visma software or any other software to use it to the absolute max, really, because it does enhance a lot of different processes around the whole, you know, core process, if that makes sense. So
Yes,
yeah,
and I
good
think
that you're spending so much time educating people.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's crucial for a business today to actually, or the accounting offices or a business, to have everything in the system. If they're supposed to plan for tomorrow, they need to know what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah.
And if you have 3 different systems where you create your invoice in one, you have your stocks in one, and then you have your accountancy things in one, then you won't be able to plan. Then the reports can't be built, not in a good way at least, and you have manual follow-up on everything. And we need to get away from that world. We can't have that. So no matter what kind of system you choose or work with, make sure you can have all your information in one system. So it is easy for people that work in analytics like you do, and to create reports and help the businesses on the.
So true. In fact, before we hooked up for our conversation today, I'm working on exactly this issue. It's a customer that actually has TripleTex, which is of course owned by Visma, and they're using that for their accounting because it's a great system, you know, for accounting. And I know that we've got logistics coming and all of that in the future, but right now they have very complex logistics all over the world. So they have a different system for that. But they need to be able to get all of this information from the logistics system into TripleTex and some other systems that are in the ecosystem. So we're working right now on actually integrating all of those systems, because of course, you know, in today's world, it's not necessarily so that absolutely everything is in one system. Often there are legacy systems or overseas systems or whatever else that need to be connected up. So that's another way that we work often, is just on making the connections between these systems. So that's exactly what I'm working on now. For this very reason, this poor customer, they spend 99% of the month only seeing costs in TripleTex, and then they have one day of celebration where they get to see the sales, because the sales and the orders and everything eventually manually join up with the costs in TripleTex. But now we're going to sort it out so that everything travels to TripleTex every day, you know, at least once a day or every hour, so that, you know, there's this constant overall view of how they're actually performing. So it's very exciting. It's you know, for them, it's going to be a new world, and a new you know, opens up new possibilities for them for planning, as you said, and knowing what tomorrow might look like. So very exciting.
It's so important. It is. And I'd like to sum up about a little bit about the order to cash process. After the invoice has been sent out electronically, actually the customer pays it on time. What then you need to do, you have to have an automated process that receives your money. Of course, your bank account receives your money, that picks up that your bank account has received money and matches that to your invoice, so that the invoice is registered as paid on time. I think this is crucial. You can't be downloading files from the bank on a monthly basis or day-to-day basis or weekly basis, or how often people do it, because you need also to automate your collection process.
Right.
And if you automate collection process and the person who downloads the file from the bank is sick for a day, you're gonna send out reminders to people who actually paid.
Right.
So you really need to create a process, or have a process that automatically updates everything in your accountancy system. With all the payments received, everything should be up to date on an hourly basis.
Right. I remember you mentioning to me once before as well that there's always danger involved if people have to think about the collection process, because naturally, obviously, we might start filtering out those people that we kind of like.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can tell me a bit more about what you think about that, because it made me laugh last time you told me.
Yeah. Yes. So then on the other hand, of course, when the customer don't pay, you have to start the collection process. And that should always be automated. And that then when I say always, I mean always. Because that we've actually seen cases where when we talk to customers, why don't you do collection? Why don't you send out reminders? Well, he has kids in the same kindergarten as I do. He lives in the same street. Well, he visits us. He sits down and talks with us every time he's in our shop. He does a lot of. They do a lot of that. That's a lot of excuses why not to do reminders or collection. And if you automate the process, you're home free because you can say, well, our system does it.
It's the computer. The computer says.
I can't override it. That's how it is. So everything here, for you to have an effective order to cash process, you need to automate everything from invoicing to payments and then collection. That is,
so removing the bottlenecks, removing the bias, getting everything flowing nicely through the system, so that there's no delays in that cash coming in. So it sounds like a great scenario.
Yeah, and that what we do now is that when we automate this process, we go from what I would say I think we have about 15 touch points today on a almost manual process. Some things, of course, but a manual process has about 15 touch points. If we do this correctly, we end up with 2.
Wow.
We create the order or receive the order, and then we deliver.
Right. Okay.
The rest is automated.
That's
so
amazing.
We of course need somebody to pick up, or robots can do it, or we can have people picking up the stocks, sending them out. We have somebody delivers the hours, somebody deliver training, somebody does what is ordered, and everything is supposed to be automated.
Right. Yeah.
So when we remove about 90% of all processes regarding order to cash.
Amazing. I suppose it's important to consider that, you know, like one of the issues that we often find when we're talking to people about this kind of thing is that they need to be organized. Like, you know, there needs to be organization behind the scenes, because the technology won't come along and magically fix everything. But if they're willing to work with the process and kind of like follow the rules and work with the systems in the way that they're supposed to work with the systems, this can work really well. As soon as people, I think, start trying to take shortcuts or trying to, you know, cheat the system, then things break down. So at the end of the day, it's really important, like process, both the automation process and the way that the people interact with the systems is really important, because, you know, the technology is not a magic wand. It is an enabler. And if you use it right, then it's going to, you know, really significantly make positive difference to your business. So
and the technology is there. We're here. It's not something that's coming in a few months or years. It's here right now. So and the magic wand didn't fix it for you. You have to actually do something with it. You need to look at the processes, and that's where a lot of us can help you.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, well, thanks for the insight, Kenneth.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thanks then. Bye-bye.
Bye.